What's happening, guys? Today I want to talk about a common mistake a lot of people make when they go into a cutting phase after the reverse diet. All right, this is something that I see all the time. But what I want to do is kind of lay the foundation first. Right? What are we trying to accomplish when we're going through a reverse diet? Right? We're trying to make changes in metabolism, right? We're trying to improve our metabolism, but we're also trying to do it while making it as minimal changes in body fat as possible, right? We're trying to get the metabolism up and keep the body fat as stable as possible. So that's why we make the small changes. That's why we slowly increase calories. That's why we slowly decrease cardio. So we can try to put you in a position where metabolically you're way better off, but you haven't gained too much fat along the way, right? Some is likely, it's probably gonna happen, but we can minimize it by taking it nice and slow. So after people reverse diet for a long time, they're ready for a cutting phase, they're used to this kind of behavior of taking things slowly. And I think also compounded with the fact that we often talk about how you don't want to be too aggressive with your dieting because you need to leave room for more changes down the road when your metabolism does catch up to what you're doing. And they take that and think, well, we need to make really small changes when we go into our cutting phase. And this is the exact opposite of what you want to do. Because if you think about it, if you just take your calories after a reverse and then you just kind of like slowly start bringing them down and maybe slowly bring up some cardio or whatever, you're basically now reverse dieting in reverse, right? So you're slowly reducing your metabolism as you bring your calories down, but you're not making much changes in body fat. And that's not what you want when it's time to cut, all right? We want to do things in a way that is going to be much more efficient, and we want to make a pretty significant change in the beginning to make sure that we elicit a response. Like I hate to say it this way, but we basically want to shock that body, right? At first, like I don't like that saying, but at the same time, in this scenario, I think it makes sense, right? We need to give your body a reason to let go of some of that body fat that it's hanging on to. And if you just make those slow changes, you're just going to undo all the work you just did. Or you just spent months, possibly over a year reverse dieting. If you just bring them down slowly again, you're just going to go right back to where you were in the beginning, basically make no progress whatsoever, and have to start that process back up again. And that's going to be defeating. That's when you're going to be like, hey, this isn't worth it. All right. So when you start, make a big change, and then you can make smaller changes to get things going again. So if we're talking about exact numbers, right? And obviously, as always, I feel like I have to say this. It always depends on the individual in many different scenarios, and I can't just give you black and white answers. Everyone responds a little bit differently. But typically, I will start somebody in a cutting phase by reducing their calories by somewhere between 400 to 600, a minimum of 300. I would probably almost never start somebody's cutting phase on less than a 300 calorie drop from their maintenance calories. Usually 400 to 600, sometimes more upwards of 700, 800, depending on the person. All right, so the longer I work with somebody, the more I know about their history, the better I'm going to understand their body and what works for them and what doesn't work. And even with a reverse diet, some people, especially if they have a really long history of dieting and a long history of very aggressive extreme dieting, it just might get to a point where they still have to diet on those really low calories to see fat loss. But at least the difference is now after a good reverse diet will actually work. Not always. Sometimes some people might have an extreme history of dieting and they reverse diet and we're able to make minimal changes to get things going again. Sometimes we have to be really aggressive. Again, this is where it comes down to each individual and knowing how they respond. The longer I work with them, the better I'm going to know them, the better I'm going to know what works for them and what doesn't work. And it just, there's a lot of variables. And what I do find is, it seems like everyone seems to have kind of like this threshold of calories that they need to get to in order to lose. And it's kind of bizarre. Like sometimes, okay, maybe we're going to drop around 500 calories. Body doesn't really respond. We wait a couple weeks, it doesn't really happen. Now we go, okay, it's not working. Let's knock it back another maybe 100, 150, 200 calories and see. All right. Now all of a sudden it starts going. It hit that threshold and now things move. All right. Now, with that being said, just because we say we drop 500 calories, that doesn't mean once your body plateaus, we need to drop another 500 calories again. That's not what we want to do, right? It's just the initial time, all right? So we might drop 500 calories, we might increase cardio, maybe 40, 60 minutes a week or something like that, just to kind of get things going. Now, that's going to work for a while. How long? Again, always depends. It might be it might be 4 weeks. It could be 12 weeks. I've got somebody who's literally on week 20, like 28 of the same macros and still losing, all right? This is rare, but it can happen. So we want to ride them out as long as we can. But once things plateau, maybe we take some diet breaks and see if that gets things going. If we plateau, okay, now we can make smaller changes and get things going again. We don't have to make that big change, right? So maybe we drop 100 calories and maybe we increase 20 minutes of cardio or a half hour cardio or whatever, right? Again, lots of variables, but we don't have to make those big drops every single time. It's just initially, then we can start making smaller drops to get things going again, right? Sometimes it only takes like 50 calories and it'll just get it going, all right? You just never really know. But the main point of this video is when you start your cut, you got to be aggressive, right? Don't be, I would almost aim to be too aggressive than not aggressive enough, because we don't want your body to start adapting down to the lower calories without that response in body fat loss. All right, so make a more aggressive drop, and then if the body responds too well, if you start dropping an absurd amount of weight, you can always add some calories back in. And I just find most of the time it does take being somewhat aggressive, especially if people have a long history of dieting. You kind of really have to get after it when it's time to cut. So want to throw that out there. Hopefully that helps somebody. As always, any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you later.
I'm addicted to the love that you're giving. Every minute, every day I've been craving.